Hello. So today I want to talk about something that is quite popular, which is buying off-plan, meaning projects that are currently under construction or are to start constructing soon, versus buying secondary market, which means ready properties, okay? And there are many brokers and agents who have posted videos and give advice online on what is the best way to go about the market, but they forget the one single most important aspect of being an advisor, a real estate advisor or broker or agent. And that is to give the absolute truthful opinion. So what happens normally is that agents and brokers, they get blindsided of having a motivated buyer in front of them who is ready to buy. And they just start saying that any project and any developer is a great buy at the moment because the market is hot. And I'll tell you what, some brokers and agents don't even know if these are good projects or good developers. They just say that anything out there in the market today is a good buy and any developer is a good developer, simply because of the market euphoria that all investors, buyers, brokers, agents tend to go through, which is everyone is on a high, so to speak, and everyone is happy that there's a lot of sales, but this is not the right approach. Now, I'm sure we all know of stories where buyers and investors bought properties when markets were very hot, at very high prices. But when markets calmed down later on, maybe months or even years later on, they lost a specific portion of that investment because the property market started leveling up and got to a stage that is more realistic to what market conditions are at that time. And so these are stories where we hear investors and buyers over and over again losing money, right, over their purchases simply because they bought at a time when properties were very hot. What do you do in a hot market? In a hot market, what tends to happen is that owners of ready properties, they tend to get greedy. For example, somebody buying a property at 3 million dirhams, which is equivalent to very roughly 800,000 United States dollars, they would say, oh, I can resell it at $1.5 million. And that is what tends to make prices go very, very high. And the consent of the market is very hot. Everyone becomes greedy, everyone wants to sell at a great profit. And obviously this is not sustainable. So the best way to go about it is indeed to work with a project that is currently being developed or a project that will be developing in the future. There are a few things that you should think of, and you should ask your broker and do your homework as well. If your broker doesn't seem very sure, or if your broker maybe is not telling you the truth and you don't really know the broker very well, where you have tested them in the past. So, number one, know as much details as you can about the developer. You need to look at their history, at their track record since their inception, and how they are and how they were with delivering certain projects in terms of accuracy of delivery dates and quality of the builds they do, of the projects that they make, to other things. But you need to be careful because even from the same developer that is a developer with a good name, not all projects are the same. And some projects will be higher quality, some projects will be lower quality. Some projects will have timelines that are very ambitious and the developer wants to finish that project in a very short period of time, which is normally not realistic, which means your project will most probably be delayed. And this is another thing to keep in mind. But consider these things and study the developer as much as you can, and you should be good as a first step. Now, that same developer, how long have they been on the market? And how have they fared, as in how have they done in the past 5 to 10 years? Why 5 to 10 years and why not 2 to 3 years? Well, simply because 2 to 3 years is not a long enough time to show people what this company is really capable of doing, right? In some markets, we tend to go through a very hot and in-demand market for sometimes 2 years, sometimes 3 or 4 years. And times and years that are in very high demand, where everyone seems to be doing well, are not the best measure on how a developer does. So look at the track record in their history of 5 to 10 years and try to find years where it was an economic downturn and see how they did, how they fared, right? Try to look at their balance sheets, at their financials, and try to talk to somebody who really understands these things and work with them to see if this developer will deliver things accurately. Number 3, see if a certain developer is backed and supported by their local government. In this region, in the Middle East, North Africa, local governments tend to support and back some developers, and therefore these developers have normally easier access to cash, which is very important, especially when markets are not doing very well. Why? Because cash will allow these companies to bail themselves out and take themselves out of any economic depressions or downturns or trouble that they're facing, right? Whereas private developers have access to simply private banks, and they don't have access to governments where they can get cash at an easier level than private companies do. So take a look at that too. And number 4, don't depend on looking at how many projects the developer has done, and that's it. Because we have some developers in the market today that have delivered a relatively high number of projects, but the quality delivered in these projects is not very good. And some of these developers, they go through certain projects that have issues in their infrastructure, they have multiple problems and challenges that investors and buyers tend to go through. My point is, don't depend simply on the number of projects delivered, rather look at the quality of the projects, okay? And look at how the trend of the developer is, meaning if a developer maybe in the past was not doing very well, however in the last few years they have done much better, look at the management changes they have faced. Some developers started off on the wrong foot, but today are actually much better respected than they used to be. So look at these things, look at the trend of the developer. Other developers simply go out of business or tend to deliver the same quality of projects that they have delivered from day one, and that is normally not a great sign. You want to see something that is constantly improving, getting bigger, delivering more ambitious projects, and these are all very positive things. But again, going back to the beginning of my video, the most important point is that you work with a broker that is honest, open, asks you a lot of questions, and understands exactly what you're looking for. And trust me when I tell you, you will work with this broker for years and years to come, and you will see good returns. Thank you so much, and happy investing and happy buying. I'll see you later. Goodbye.